Hey, teachers and parents. So, in this episode, we are talking to Katie Selby, who is an incredible woman with an amazing story. And although Katie has lived with a learning disability her whole life, she was blessed to have a SPED teacher who taught her how to advocate for herself. And now she wants to help others do just that. So, especially if you are a parent with a child who has learning disabilities, or you're teaching children in your class that have learning disabilities, then this is definitely a podcast and an interview that you want to listen to. All right, Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Awesome. So, Katie, let's start off with your experience in primary school, like when you were younger. Tell us about that. How did it go?
Well, when I was 3 years old, I was diagnosed with a language impairment. I would not communicate verbally. I would show my parents and everyone around me body language to get communication across. I would jump up and down and smile when I'm happy, and when I was frustrated, I would um go to the ground on concrete and almost hitting my head. And that
Wow.
happened like all over in the community, and not just at my mom's work. And at 3 years old, my parents and teachers decided to ignore my pointing and gesturing in hopes that I would verbally communicate. Well, that did not work.
Mhm.
So, I was nonverbal until I was 5 years old. And at 5 years old, I said my first full sentence. And to this day, I wish I knew what those words were.
So was anyone around you when you said it, or do you remember
Probably,
like,
prob-
yeah?
probably my parents and that, or my teachers, but no one knows what my
Oh,
first words were.
oh, I can imagine. Yeah, because normally, right, it's like, when you're little, it's like mama and your mom remembers it was her. But if you're five, it could have been a whole fluid sentence, you
Yeah. Yes.
know? Oh. And so tell us, so when that happened, like moving, so you said that was at about five. So that would have been, were you in kindergarten yet at that point? Or then
Y-
were you okay then to move into grade one and everything because you were talking now?
I was in kindergarten at that time. And in kindergarten, I also got diagnosed with learning disabilities in written communication, reading comprehension, and math. And I was in a self-contained classroom in kindergarten, which means there was not that many children in my class. And then in the middle of first grade,
Mhm.
they saw I was making really great progress. So they went ahead and um, had me transition from the self-contained classroom into a general education classroom setting. And I was in there for math for first grade. And then in second grade, I was totally integrated into the general education class and got support still from special education for speech and language, resource, and occupational therapy. And my occupational therapy ended at age in third grade because I made so much progress.
Oh, wow. And do you remember like your teachers at the time? Were they did they know how to work with your learning disability, or was it quite, difficult for them? Or do you remember any of that with your teachers?
Yes, I do think that they did try their best to get me to come out of my shell when I was in elementary and middle school. They probably mostly they thought that I was just shy and quiet, um,
Hmm.
because I couldn't, it takes me some time to get my words out. And I was just the good student, and they probably really focused on the students that needed more support and thought
Right.
that hey, she's okay. But really, I really wanted that support
Yeah, I can
to learn
imagine.
those advocacy skills at a younger age and not wait until I was a junior in high school.
And what are some of the advocacy skills that you mean? Like, what are some of the skills that children with learning disabilities should really be helped with in order to make their experience in school that much better?
I would say speaking up, talking with the general education teacher, asking for clarification, and then knowing that they can always go back to their SPED teacher if they need clarification. And also maybe finding some peers in class to
Mhm.
buddy up with, and they could always ask their peers for support as well.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's definitely true. I think like making them know that that is an option, right? And having the teacher as well be like, okay, you, or even maybe pairing them up with someone that they feel safe with, could definitely be a possibility. And if you, so today, Katie, like if you could go back to your 10-year-old self, like what would you tell her?
I would tell myself that I need to learn to speak up for myself and talk to my teachers and say, "Hey, how can I advocate for myself now and not waited until I was a junior in
Right.
high
And
school."
so tell us about the experience then moving into high school. So so that would have been, were you in middle school first or?
Yes, I was in middle school first.
Okay. And where was it that you had the SPED teacher, um, that helped you, like, that really made a difference? Was that in middle school or still in primary
That
school?
that was in high school.
That was in high school. Okay, so
Yes.
tell us then about after middle school, tell us about your experience going in through high school.
Well, transitioning from middle school to high school, I didn't feel that I was ready. I didn't
Mhm.
feel my middle school teachers really supported me and got me ready for high school. And then in high school, I um my freshman and sophomore year, I was just trying to see what it was all about in that. And then in my junior year of high school, I was placed in a class within a class, which means there was a gen ed teacher and a special ed teacher teaching the class together
Okay.
so that they could both help this all the students in the class. And it was an English class. And I would always go to my special education teacher and ask questions if I didn't understand something that the teacher was asking me to do. So one day she told me to go ahead and just ask my general education English teacher for clarification. And she also said that if I still didn't understand, I could always go back to her for clarification.
And how did you, what did you tell yourself to get through? Because I imagine it's quite scary and quite a fear of students, particularly with learning disabilities, to go and ask for help. I mean, I know with my grade sixes, it was difficult, or grade sevens even, it was difficult for most of them to ask for help on a good day. So I can imagine, it must have been quite scary. So did you tell yourself anything, or how did you kind of get through that fear to be like, I can do this?
I just went ahead and did it. I was nervous to do it, but I'm like, okay, I'll try.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can try, right? What's the worst that
Yeah.
could happen? Right?
Yes.
That's sometimes a good one too. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I doubt she's going to turn me away and say, no, I'm not going to help you.
Yeah.
And like, and also, with high school, do you feel that there was anything missing that maybe could have helped your experience more other than just your teacher that, was quite the catalyst for helping you build a lot of your self-confidence?
Maybe finding like peers to pair up
Mhm.
with and and get support from.
That's a good point. Yeah, definitely. Um, I can just imagine. And before we get into what you're doing now, like I want to, okay, so after high school, when you moved into college, was there any resistance with you going to college? Did people feel that you weren't going to be able to make it, or did you have to push, or was everyone like, no, you've got this?
I had to push for college.
Yeah.
In my transition IEP, going from high school to college, I had a guidance counselor tell me that maybe I should just get a job as a childcare worker and not go to college.
Wow.
And yes, and then I also had other roadblocks with people telling me as well that maybe college isn't for you.
Wow. And like, so how did you get through that adversity? Like, what did you tell yourself? Were you just like, well, forget you, I'm going anyway? Or were there any kind of phrases that you use? If there's a listener out there who is like, I was also told that, or I was told I won't make it, I won't be able to do anything with my life, what are some of the phrases that you think they could use to help motivate them to believe in themselves?
Maybe just have that perseverance and that
Yeah.
determination. I had that drive and determination to just defy the odds and really wanted to prove everyone wrong.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think it's like that, go prove them wrong, right? Go
Hmm.
prove them wrong. Like go
Yes.
and be like, you know what? I'm gonna go prove you wrong.
Yeah.
You say that, that's your thought, but what you say and what I feel, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna show you that you're wrong. So I think, yeah,
Yes.
that's definitely powerful. And I know when you were saying when you went to college, what were some of the kind of challenges you faced in college that you hadn't really experienced in high school or primary school? Because college comes with its whole own set of problems for most students starting out.
Well, finding the right access office disability services counselor, I had I went through two counselors before I found one that really understood me and really helped me. And she saw the driving me and of wanting to continue college after my associate's degree. And another challenge was finding the right math teacher. Math was very difficult. It took me years and years to get through math.
Okay.
My parents did help me find family friends and private tutors to help me get through math, who understood me and knew of how to help me with math because the math tutors at school did not understand how to really support people with disabilities.
Right. That's something that I think, colleges could even look at in terms of training your math teachers, because there are more people coming into colleges with learning disabilities, and you want your teachers to be trained in how to work with
Hmm.
that, and how to give them that sort of that knowledge and that ability, which I think would be so valuable. So like now I know, okay, so explain to me just a little bit about what you're doing. So after college, okay, you got out of college, and I remember you telling me you started with one job and then you wound up going back into a school. So just tell us a little bit about the journey, from when you left college.
Okay. Well, as I was leaving college, I really wanted to find a job in the career field that I studied
Okay.
in college. Well, I went ahead and applied at an agency, um, and it was a day program, and I applied to be a program assistant to help individuals with cerebral palsy. And
Okay. And so what did
um,
you study in college exactly? I forgot to ask.
independent living,
Okay.
rehabilitation services, independent living.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, so
Yes.
you got this job. Yeah.
Yes. And I went in with the interview and I thought things were going okay. And then towards the end of the interview, the interviewee suggested that maybe I go a different route in their company and instead of being a program assistant, be a bathroom monitor and help support individuals with cerebral palsy in the bathroom. And I only lasted at that job for 2 months until I realized
That this
I
is
wanted to
not
go
like your education is
right.
supposed to be able to get you a little bit more than this.
Yes. Yes. So then I decided to go back to the school district that I worked for as I was in college. I would substitute for this school district. And
Okay.
I also was working as an ABA therapist or paraprofessional. And um, I was like, you know what? If this job here at the day program isn't right for me, I should just try and go back to where I feel comfortable and where
Yeah.
I fit in, where I felt I
Yeah.
fit in.
Absolutely. And I think, because while you were in college, did you go and apply at the school as a supply because you thought it'd be good as like just a small side hustle job that you could do to get some money? Or were you like, what made you make that decision to go and look at the schools to do some work there?
Um, I originally looked at those schools because I had a student with autism that I worked with, my first student, and at a
Mhm.
before and after care program.
Okay.
And I applied for a teacher assistant position at this district, and they suggested that I just substitute. So then I started substituting while I was continuing college. And then, um, and then as I was done with my associate's degree, I went ahead and got on as an ABA um, paraprofessional. And then, um, and then I worked that. And as I was going through college and at Maryville University, I would just take classes here and there, and mainly there were like night classes, late afternoon and night classes.
Okay, wow, show that's amazing. And so now you're at that same school. So so are you working with a smaller group of kids? Are you in the classroom or a day in your job basically?
Every day is different. At
Yeah.
my job,
True story with teaching.
yes, I do support some students with disabilities in the general education setting as a para. So I'm just there for support in their gen ed classes. And I also support a student who is um, in mainly in the SPED room, and just help support him with his um, communication and his education as well.
Okay, and Katie, what would you say are some of the like practices that you use with these students that you've noticed have worked to help them grow maybe in their mindset, not necessarily in their academics, but just holistically, like as the child themselves. What sort of things have you done that you've noticed like this is making a difference with this child?
Well, we work as a team, so we like you utilize a system to where if one of the students isn't ready to work, we have a system where he asks for I need a minute, and he gets 3 additional minutes to kind of have like a break, and
Mm-hmm.
then and then gets back to work. And we use token economy systems
What's that?
to where as they're working, they get a token, and then they get like to use their iPad or have like a snack. And do like puzzles or something that they choose to do
Right.
at that time to take like a little break.
Okay, that's good. And would you give that advice as well, like with, for parents who might have, like, if their child has learning disabilities, do you think, the breaks are a good idea, or are there any pieces of advice that, like, how were your parents? Were they advocates for you? What were they like when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, I don't think they really understood the whole special education system because I was the only member of my immediate family that had that has disabilities. So I didn't really have another sibling that they could compare me to see
Right.
what supports I needed.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So like with parents, I think it's important to, I guess, just like learn your child, right?
Mhm.
Understand sort of and also I think what is so key is find your child's like talent, like really look to see what do they like, what do they really like love to do, and trying to see if you can't do more of that as if it's either an extracurricular activity or something like that, to sort of build their love of life, because it's hard, I think sometimes. So I'm sure you see as a paraprofessional, sometimes the students might get down on themselves, like, what do you do if they're having kind of a bad day? Do you have any strategies to help them? Or what's your go-to?
My go-to is just giving them time and processing and communicating with them on with their communication devices. I have some students who have communication devices
Okay.
and also just giving that break if they need it. If they're especially if they have difficulty writing. Maybe just having the student write um, part of the sentence, and then would write some, and then they would write some, and
A good
do
idea.
something like that.
Yeah, just like it's like you don't, making it that 1%, right? You just got to do like
Yes.
get 1% done. And then the next, okay, 1% more, like pushing it just until we get, we only got to do the half, and then it is more so breaking it up into chunks to make it more manageable, to not
Yes.
make it seem so daunting as a task, which I think is valuable input for everybody.
Hmm.
When,
Yes.
with project management, right? Where you used to procrastinate because your project seems so big, instead of actually just like breaking it down into
Hmm.
tasks. So I know you're in the process of writing your story. And I first want to know, how did you not learn to love writing, but when did you realize you liked writing, you loved writing?
Well, I started out in 2016. Right, I wrote an article for The Mighty. It's a blog site for people with disabilities,
Oh,
and they were asking people to write an article about college and to give students with disabilities a chance to read articles about the transitioning to college. So I wrote that article, and then I shared that with social media pages that I thought would like to um, read it or
mm-hmm.
even share it on their Facebook page. And then in 2020, I read a book called Stutter Interrupted by Nina G. She is a person who has dyslexia and is a person who lives with stuttering. And
Okay.
I read her book and I'm like, you know what? Our stories are kind of similar. And I was like, you know what? If she can write a book, I can write a book.
Nice.
So that's when I decided to work on writing a book about my life story. And another key reason why I want to share my life story with others is because there aren't that many memoirs or biographies out there about people living with a language impairment learning disabilities. It's mainly research-based books because I looked for books um, that I could read to learn about someone who is similar to me, and I could not find a book.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's not, doesn't tend to be a topic that gets covered at all. I think after you write your biography, you can consider or your autobiography, you should consider maybe doing a children's book around it as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And which would be
Yes.
great because I'm sure there's kids out there who would love to, because it's like, that's me, you know? So I
Yes.
think that would be fantastic. And is there anything else today before we get to our final thoughts, Katie, that you want to share with the listeners or share with us today?
I also like to share that as I was growing up, it was difficult for me to make friends. At 3 years old, I would just play by myself at school, and my only friends were my brother Alan, my Cabbage Patch doll Faye Ronnie, and my cousins. And
Okay.
at 5 years old, I made my first friend, and she is a person with a disability, and we're still friends today. And as I was growing up, I kind of geared towards friends with people with who have disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt the comfort and the support through them. And all of my friends are people with disabilities. And I like to say that we're not a support group. We're just there for each other.
Nice. I love
And
that.
our disabilities range from learning disabilities to traumatic brain injury, ADHD, mental health, and epilepsy, cerebral palsy, and dwarfism.
And how did you like find each other?
We found each other through school because we were all most of us were all placed in SPED classes together,
Okay.
and and we found uh and we found each other. I found one, two, like, four friends through college.
Okay, amazing.
Yes,
Yeah. So I
through
think,
my college career.
and that's what I think, if anybody out there listening has a learning disability or a language disability, any kind of disability, like that, go find your tribe. Like your tribe is
Yes,
out there, just don't think it's got to be just you against the world, right? There are people out there
right.
that understand and that want you sitting beside them and telling you their story, and don't underestimate that, you know, everybody has a tribe. So go find yours. And so, yeah, no, that's great. I love that. You must, yeah. Well, they're very blessed to have you. I'm sure you're very blessed to have them. It's always so
Yes.
wonderful to have a group of friends like that. So, Katie, if people wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best spot to find you online?
They can find me on Facebook at the girl who was not college material. They could also find me on Instagram as college material girl.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, and you were telling me with Instagram that it's a lot about your dogs, that you like to tell me a little bit about your dogs.
I have two dachshunds um, named Barney and Fred, and they're both 11 years old. My husband and I adopted them at 9. They came to us with kennel cough, and we were only supposed to foster them for 2 weeks. Well, 3 days in, we locked eyes and with their cuteness and their cute, entertaining antics that we asked the rescue group if we could officially be their parents.
Amazing. They're
And
parents. I love
um,
that.
yeah, and Barney is a dachshund with special needs. He has kyphosis, scoliosis. So we take him to get laser therapy treatments every 2 weeks and chiropractic care as needed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Nice. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's great. So then, yeah, so if anyone goes to your Facebook page, they'll see, and your Instagram page, they'll get to meet your beautiful dogs, which is always exciting.
Yes.
I know that always brings some joy to people's lives. And book wise, are there any books you recommend for personal or professional development, or even like people to follow, like that what do you think?
Um, I do have some handouts that I've made for self-advocacy and for from preschool all the way through college and jobs,
That's
and
amazing.
also self-management sheets for elementary all the way up to high school, so students can um, see where they're at and see where they need to learn self-advocacy skills.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely please, like we'll put those in the show notes for sure so people can access the links on those, because I think that that's so valuable. And Katie, tell me, like, how do you move, what are your tricks for moving yourself from a negative mindset into a positive mindset?
I just have that drive. So I've
Yeah.
always had that drive in me to always be positive and try to try to see if I can make things better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you. And last question, final thought. What three things are you grateful for today?
Well, today I'm grateful for my dogs, Barney and Fred. I am also grateful for my friends and family and my husband. And I'm also grateful for my students to where I can teach them self-advocacy skills at a young age in the elementary setting. And I think that's why I chose to be in the elementary setting, is because at that time I didn't receive self-advocacy skills. So I
Right.
want to teach my students that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'm so grateful for you, Katie, just for coming on the show today, sharing your story, helping so many students out there, and like inadvertently their parents as well. Definitely. I'm
Yes.
sure their parents are so grateful to have you in their child's lives. And I just wish you so much success with the book and with everything as you move forward. I can't wait. Like, please, as soon as the book gets published, you must like send it to me so I can share it. Yeah, and just have an absolutely fantastic, beautiful week. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you so much.